Feeling everything deeply is not your problem. The problem is you've never been taught the one shift that turns emotional intensity from a liability into a strength. Without it, you'll keep getting swept away. With it, you can feel the full weight of something and still stay standing. That's what this video is about. In the next 12 minutes, I'll show you number one, why every emotional regulation technique you've tried keeps failing at the same point, and what's actually missing underneath them. Number two, the identity level shift that Vedic philosophy and modern neuroscience both point to as the root of emotional stability, not just management. Number three, a concrete practice you can use in real time during a hard conversation, not just before or after it. Let's get into it. A woman named Priya, a therapist herself, once described it to me this way. She said, I know every tool. I teach DBT, I teach breathwork, I teach grounding. And then my mother calls, and within 4 minutes, I'm 12 years old again, and every tool I own is gone. She wasn't broken, she wasn't weak. She was missing one thing, not another technique, a different relationship to the self that was having the experience. That's the gap almost nobody talks about. There's a comment that shows up constantly in videos about emotional regulation. Someone writes, me clicking this so I can learn how you're supposed to function properly. And everyone laughs because it's painfully relatable. But underneath that joke is something real. People have watched hundreds of videos, read the books, done the worksheets, and they still fall apart at the same moments. The question worth asking is why. The standard answer in this space is that you're suppressing instead of processing, that emotionally healthy people feel their feelings and respond with intention. That framing isn't wrong, but it's incomplete. And it's so saturated that repeating it here would be a waste of your time. The deeper answer comes from a Vedic model called the Panchakosha, which translates roughly as the five layers of the self. Western psychology tends to treat emotional regulation as a cognitive problem. Think differently and you'll feel differently. Or it treats it as a somatic problem. Regulate your nervous system and the emotions will settle. Both of these approaches are working on real layers of the self, but they're often working on the wrong floor of the building. The Panchakosha model says you have five sheets. The outermost is the physical body. Beneath that is the energy or breath body, what they call the Pranamaya Kosha. Beneath that is the mental emotional layer, the Manomaya Kosha. Then the intellect. And at the center, what they described as the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath closest to pure awareness itself. Most emotional regulation work happens at the mental layer. Reframe the thought, challenge the belief, name the emotion. That's the Manomaya Kosha. Some work happens at the energy layer. Breathe slowly, shake it out, move your body. That's the Pranamaya Kosha. But neither of those addresses the question Priya was actually asking. Why do I keep losing myself inside the emotion? Why does the tool vanish the moment I need it most? The answer is that she hadn't yet developed what the Vedic tradition calls the Sakshi, the witness, the stable layer of awareness that sits beneath the mental and energy sheets and can observe both without being consumed by them. Without that layer being active, every technique you apply is like trying to fix a leaking pipe while standing in the flood. You're using a tool while also being the thing the tool needs to work on. Modern neuroscience has a name for what happens when the witness goes offline. It's called default mode network hijacking. When an emotional trigger fires, the DMN, which is associated with self-referential thought and narrative identity, floods the system. You stop observing the emotion. You become the story the emotion is telling about you. That's the moment the tools disappear, not because they're bad tools, because you're no longer the person holding them. Takeaway: the reason emotional regulation techniques fail at high intensity moments is not a technique problem, it's a layer problem. You're working on the mental sheath while the witness layer is offline. The Vedic concept at the center of this is called Sakshi Bhav. Sakshi means witness, Bhav means a state of being, an orientation, almost a flavor of consciousness. Sakshi Bhav is not a technique, it's a shift in who you take yourself to be in relation to your inner experience. Most of us live by default in a state of identification. I am angry, I am anxious, I am devastated. The emotion and the self are fused. The ancient Vedic teachers and the modern mindfulness researchers, who independently arrived at the same place, call this fusion the root of emotional suffering, not the emotion itself. The fusion, what Sakshi Bhav points to, is this: there is something in you that watches anger arise. There is something in you that notices anxiety building. That something is not angry, it is not anxious, it is the one doing the noticing. And crucially, it has never, in your entire life, been destroyed by anything you have felt. Mindfulness based cognitive therapy calls this decentering. The research on it is striking. People with strong decentering capacity, the ability to observe thoughts and emotions as passing mental events rather than commands, show significantly lower rates of depression relapse. They recover faster from emotional spikes. They make better decisions under pressure. They are not less feeling. They feel everything. They just don't lose themselves inside it. The difference between a prisoner and a witness is not that the prisoner feels more. It's that the prisoner has forgotten there is a self that exists outside the self. Priya, the therapist from earlier, described the moment she first experienced this shift. She was on the phone with her mother. The familiar tightening in her chest started. The old narrative began. She never listens. I never matter. Nothing changes. And for the first time, instead of trying to stop those thoughts or breathe through them, she just noticed them. She said to herself, almost out loud, there it is. The 12-year-old is here. She told me I still felt all of it, the tightness, the grief, the frustration, but there was something else there too, something watching. And that something was not 12. It was not panicking. It was just there. That is Sakshi Bhav, not detachment, not numbness, full feeling with a stable center. The neuroscience parallel is the prefrontal cortex maintaining online status during emotional activation. When you can observe the emotion without fusing with it, the prefrontal cortex stays engaged. You retain access to judgment, language, choice. When you fuse, the prefrontal cortex goes dark and the limbic system runs the show. The ancient teachers didn't have fMRI machines, but they were describing the same functional architecture. The identity shift is this: you stop trying to manage your emotions and start practicing being the one who is watching them. That sounds subtle. The practical difference is enormous. Takeaway: the next time a strong emotion arrives, the single most useful thing you can do is find the part of you that is noticing it and speak from there, even briefly. This is the question that almost nobody answers well. How do I regulate in real time during a triggering conversation, not just before or after? Because the breath work you did this morning is not automatically present when your partner says the thing that lands like a blade. The gap between insight and application is where most people live. They understand the witness concept when they're calm. They lose it completely when they need it. So the practice has to be built into the moment itself, not just into the meditation cushion. The Vedic tradition offers something practical here that maps directly onto what trauma informed therapists now call the window of tolerance. Inside your window, you can think, feel, and respond. Outside it, you're either flooded or shut down. The goal is not to never get activated. The goal is to return to the window faster and to expand it over time. The three-step practice I'm going to give you comes directly from the Sakshibha framework, and it works because it's designed for the moment of activation, not the moment of calm. Step 1: name the layer, not the emotion. Instead of saying to yourself, I'm angry, say, the mental layer is activated. This sounds clinical, but that's the point. It creates just enough distance to prevent full fusion. You're not denying the anger. You're locating it in the Manomaya kosha instead of in your identity. That one move keeps the witness slightly online. Step 2: find one breath that belongs to the witness, not to the emotion. Not a calming breath, not a technique breath, just one breath where you are the one choosing to breathe, not the emotion breathing for you. That act of choosing, however small, is the witness reasserting presence. Research on interoception, the brain's ability to sense internal states, shows that a single deliberate breath can shift the balance between limbic activation and prefrontal engagement. One breath, that's the entry point. Step 3: speak one true thing from the witness, not from the emotion. This is not suppression. The emotion gets to speak, but you choose what it says first. The witness might say, I need a moment, Or something just got activated in me and I don't want to respond from that place. Or simply, this is hard. Those are true. They don't deny the feeling. They're spoken by the part of you that is watching the feeling, not drowning in it. Priya used this the next time her mother called. She told me she got through about 40 seconds of the conversation before the tightening came. She named the layers silently. She took one breath that was hers, and she said out loud to her mother, Mom, I love you and I need to call you back in 10 minutes. That was it. The conversation didn't fix the relationship, but Priya didn't lose herself. She stayed in the window. She stayed the witness. Over time, this practice does something that no list of techniques can do on its own. It rewires the relationship between your identity and your emotional experience. You stop being someone who gets overwhelmed and then recovers. You start being someone who feels fully and stays grounded at the same time. That is what the Vedic teachers meant by emotional mastery, not control, not suppression, presence without possession. The comment that stuck with me most from this community was someone who wrote, meeting your needs regulates your nervous system, so basic and yet so profound for those of us who have gone our whole lives deprioritizing our needs because we believe doing so would make us safer. That belief, the one that says my needs are dangerous, is exactly what the witness practice begins to dismantle because the witness sees that belief as a belief, not as the truth, not as you. Take away, name the layer, take one witness breath, speak one true thing in that order every time. That three-step sequence works. And for a lot of people, it also surfaces something else, a deeper pattern underneath, the activation that the practice alone doesn't fully reach. If you have tried the witness approach, tried the breath work, tried the reframes, and you still keep hitting the same wall at the same moments, the fastest way through that is not another video. It's a conversation. I offer a free 15 to 30-minute consultation call. No pitch, no agenda, just you and me looking at exactly where you're stuck and what's actually underneath it. You'll walk away with a clear next step for your specific situation, whether we ever work together or not. The link to book is in the description at dailymindreset.com consultation. If this way of looking at emotional regulation is useful to you, subscribe because this is the thread we keep pulling. What's the moment, the specific situation where your regulation tools disappear fastest? Drop it in the comments.